In John's gospel, there's an interesting thing that happens between chapter 13 and into chapter 14. So Jesus is in the upper room with his disciples. He's telling them now what's going to happen, and he makes this claim that he's about to die for them. And he says, where I'm going, you can't go. And then in chapter 13 and verse 37, Peter asks, Lord, why can't I follow you now? For I will lay down my life for you. So he makes this bold claim of, here's what I'm willing to do for you. And then Jesus gives us this very difficult message back to Peter in verse 38. Then Jesus answered, will you really lay down your life for me? Very truly, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Imagine the heartache and the brokenness with which Jesus now communicates this truth to Peter, and how difficult it would be for Peter to now receive that message. And so here, as chapter 13 ends, you have Jesus telling one of his absolute best disciples, you're about to fail me in a way that your mind can't even begin to comprehend that you're going to fail me, and the heartache and the rift in that relationship that it must be in that moment. So what's the very next thing that Jesus says? The very next thing, right after Jesus says, you're going to fail me in a way you can't even begin to imagine, those are the words in chapter 14 and verse number 1. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me also, that you may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I'm going. This is the passage I use at funerals. This is the passage that we teach to bring a tremendous amount of comfort to people in the midst of their darkest moments. This idea that there is an eternity, that God has prepared it for us, that he knows that we are coming, and he is completely ready. And yet the context of that great promise comes right on the heels of the greatest failure of one of the disciples. This blows my mind, of this comprehension of God who knows I'm going to fail in ways I can't even begin to imagine. How does he speak to me in that moment? You see, if you were going to fail me, if you were about to fail me and I said, hey, here's what you're about to do, I might then passively, aggressively talk about forgiveness, but you really don't deserve it in some way. I might turn my attention to somebody else and start talking to them. I might avoid intimacy with you in this moment, trying to drive down to the depths of your soul how bad it is about what you're about to do. But Jesus, knowing that Peter will feel that for himself, instead of leading with guilt, leads with compassion and hope and promise. Probably with the desire that whenever Peter is at his very bottom and he actually remembers, oh yeah, Jesus predicted this. Yeah, but what else did he say? He said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. We can hear these words in our minds if we're not very careful, these words of condemnation, that whenever we fail Jesus, we can think that he's done with us. We can begin to treat Jesus like anybody else, that if we fail them, they're probably done with us. But here in this moment, Jesus gives us tremendous promise, but the promise comes on the heels of failure. I don't know what you're going through today. I don't know where you've been. I don't know what you've done, but here's what I do know. There are ways that you might fail Jesus today that you can't even begin to imagine, but even whenever you do, understand this. His compassion always follows. His forgiveness is always there. And do not allow the voice of condemnation to beat you down. Instead, allow the voice of your Creator to give you hope, empower you to repent, and for you to move forward. There is hope today no matter where you've been or what you've done, and that hope is found in Jesus.